Okay, the next item on the agenda is House File 1565. So on deck, we have Cheryl Hennon from the State Ombudsman for Long-Term Care Office. Representative Lippert, would you like to move your bill to Health and Human Services Finance?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House File 1565 to be referred to the Division on Health and Human Services Finance.
Excellent. Please proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, in a presentation earlier this session, we heard from the Office of Ombudsman for Long-Term Care about their work as a primary advocate for consumers receiving long-term care services and their work with long-term care facilities as well. And we also heard about their staffing levels, that their staffing levels are last among states and also below the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico as well. As we are listening to concerns about elder abuse and determining ways to respond to these concerns, one response is making sure that the staffing level for this office is has the capacity to meet the needs of these concerns and complaints and is in line with other states. So this bill will be calling for 25 additional regional ombudsmen and 6 support staff for work such as supervision and data management that will put Minnesota in line or bring our staffing levels up to the average of the states that border Minnesota. And with that, I'll turn it over to Cheryl Hennon.
Okay, welcome, Ms. Hennon. Just introduce yourself to the record, please, and then proceed.
Thank you, Ms. Chairperson, and thank you, Representative Lippert. I am Cheryl Hennon, the State Long-Term Care Ombudsman, and I appreciate the time before you today. Just to give you an overview of the role of the Ombudsman's Office, we are a program of the Minnesota Board on Aging. We are established in Title VII, Chapter 2 of the Older Americans Act, as well as Minnesota Statute 256.9742. I'm proud to say that we are a program of the Minnesota Board on Aging. Our Executive Director, Carrie Benson, is also with us today. We have a unique role to provide direct consumer independent advocacy with a focus on prevention. We not only do complaint investigations, but we also conduct trainings, provide consultations, including consultations to providers. House File 1565, as was nicely explained to you earlier by Representative Lippert, includes 2 separate appropriations. One is for 25 additional regional staff located throughout the state of Minnesota, and this costs include travel, lease expenditures, and supplies. This is $2.1 million in fiscal year 2020 and $3.5 in fiscal year 2021. The second appropriation is for central office staff. This includes people who would provide supervision, provide policy support. We are an office that receives complaints directly, so we have people answering phones on a regular basis, first point of contact. So for the 6 additional staff, that would be $818,000 in fiscal year 2020 and $977,000 in fiscal year 2021. And this cost includes our volunteers, because we do project that with additional regional staff, we would also expand our volunteers. And keep in mind, the importance of this expansion is for a presence in long-term care facilities. And while most often you hear nursing homes and assisted living in facility types, our scope expands beyond that. We do investigate complaints against county social service agencies, against medical foster homes for veterans, veterans homes, hospitals. So we expand beyond nursing home and assisted living in our complaint work. So this funding will support an increase in 31 additional staff and allow us to provide advocacy to more people and work to protect those receiving long-term care services. I also want to point out to you that the biennial total fiscal year 2021 would be 5.1 million, fiscal year 22-23, 6.1. The total expenditures are reduced by 950,000 in fiscal year 2020 and 1.4 million in fiscal year 2021 as a result of expected federal financial participation. So a map. This map shows you what our current configuration is. We have 5 regional ombudsmen in the metro and 9 in greater Minnesota. So the numbers do not tell you how many people are in those regions. It just identifies the region. And this is where we show you that we are at approximately one full-time person to 9,000 beds when the national average is 1 in 2,000. And we also want to point out that some staff in greater Minnesota, so if you look at pink, which is number 2, that's one example of where the staff are spending an average of over 80 hours per month just traveling alone. One region is around 19,000 square miles. So, and currently we have 4 community offices. The remaining people are working out of their homes. I've established a community office in Grand Rapids, Brainerd, Mankato, and then the central office in St. Paul, with a very keen eye on making sure that we are efficient in those costs. So I was asked what will you do with these extra people? So the map that you have, you should each have an independent Minnesota map in your materials. And this map would show you where I would put the 25 additional staff. So it would be 25 plus the current 14 equals 39. So this would bring us, as was testified to earlier, an average of 1 FTE to 3,300 beds. And so how did we make these determinations? So what you're looking at is there would be 21 regional ombudsmen in greater Minnesota, which is what you're looking at. What we didn't pull out are the separate 7 county. I didn't provide a map of the 7 county, but you see the arrows going out from the metro. And you have, for example, 1 in Wright County. That means we'd have 1 regional ombudsman in Wright, 2 in Anoka. So we'd have 21 regional ombudsmen in greater Minnesota and 18 in the metro counties. And we would also look to expand the number of community offices in the Rochester area, southwest Minnesota, the Twin Cities, and the northeast section. And so the other factors that we use to determine this proposed regional configuration include the license type, the bed counts in each area, troublesome areas. What does that mean? That means that's where we spend a lot of our time. I look towards our staff to be explaining where they have a lot of work going on, as well as windshield time. And we also do a lot of work with other stakeholders in terms of serving on committees. So there are a number of factors that we took very good care to show you, well, where will you put these people? I want to introduce you to some of the clients that we have to give you a visual of the reason why we are all here today. Meet Bernie. And I do have permission to be sharing his picture, sharing his name. So when we met him, he provided us with the note that's to the side of his picture. And what happened here is he received, the first bill that he received from the provider caused him very extreme alarm and anger. And what had happened is the charges that he thought he was being charged were exorbitantly high upon his first bill. So, and he also felt he was being treated disrespectfully. And after the regional ombudsman got on board, we were able to review the contracts and confirm that certain fees and charges were not disclosed at the time of admission. And as a result of this, and working in collaboration with the provider, we were able to refund at least half of the charges, and The bonus, the provider agreed to change their contract language to prevent this from happening again. So not only did we influence to a positive way Bernie's life, but also the rest of the folks living there. Edith. So Edith is a model from New York. She was discovered one day having lunch in one of the finer cafes. Who knows, you could go eat somewhere and somebody wants to hire you as a model. And like most of us, she followed her family to Minnesota after she retired. And we became involved with Edith because she was being told that her use of her power chair was to be restricted within her living environment, as well as she felt retaliated against and was facing involuntary discharge. So in this particular case, we did represent her in an administrative law judge hearing, and we were able to do away with the involuntary discharge, and she no longer felt that she was being disrespected nor retaliated against. You're getting a high level of what the concerns were, but I want you to see the faces of people that we serve. The next picture, if you look at this wonderful people that live in a nursing home in northern Minnesota, the woman standing in the background is one of our volunteers. In this particular setting, the resident council they would discuss that they had systemic issues, problems happening with their provider, and they just didn't know how to resolve this. How do we go about this? So with the help of the volunteer, they developed a concern form. And with the help of the volunteer and the regional ombudsman providing oversight, they met with the administrator. 2 weeks later, every one of their concerns were resolved. Is it always that easy? No. But what I want to show you is how we utilize our volunteers under the direction of regional ombudsman in being a presence. It's also important to me as your state ombudsman to hear back from people about how well we are doing. So every case that we investigate, a case has to have at least one complainant, which could be the resident or a family member. We open a case on our system, we work to resolve it. When it's closed, we send everyone a customer satisfaction survey. And so I provide for you some of the responses that we received on the customer satisfaction survey. Do I have 100% responses that say how wonderful we are? No. But I want you to see that we are making more of a positive difference than not. And I especially appreciate the ombudsman came to my rescue when the facility was threatening to kick my husband out because they couldn't care for him. She talked to me and then to them, and the threat disappeared. So oftentimes we are able to remedy the situation. I
I'm
also
gonna stop you right there. I
yes.
think Representative Gruenhagen, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, and it had to do with the staffing. I think the national average is one ombudsman to every 2,500 beds. What would, if we add all of these, what would the ratio be in Minnesota? Do you know right offhand?
If we were able to reach the national average, we scaled that. Thank you, Representative. That's a very good question. It would add about 65 people. We would need about 65. And so to be more reasonable, if you will, we looked at, we need to get as least as good as our neighbors. So I serve as part of Region 5 with all the state ombudsmen that are in the states around us. So we get their data. So it would be 65 plus if we were to get close to the national average.
Representative Gruenhagen?
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. So we'll be at about half of that, right?
But at least as good as those wonderful states that border us.
So did you say we would be at 1 to 3,300
Right.
ratio with
Right.
with this number
Right.
of additional staff members, 1 to 3,300?
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions at this point? No, please proceed, Ms. Hennon.
So individual complaint handling, approximately 80% of the case complaints we receive are substantiated. So the federal government lays out over 130 categories of complaints that we are to, and whatever is coming to our attention, we must investigate. And then we also must record a disposition, which means whether or not we verified it. So, and then are they substantiated, or are they just something that someone just made up? But 80% of the complaints we receive are substantiated. The complaints that we are investigating are significant issues. So as I have been having many discussions with a number of people, the question common has been, are just most of these complaints about lost socks or lost clothing or something of that nature? Those are important to people, by the way, when those things happen. But most of the work that we've been dealing with are significant issues. And what we have learned to do with our small, stretched, thin number of staff is if we cannot get out there, we provide consultation to empower people to hopefully get this done and then follow up with them. The beyond casework, in 2017, 2018, my staff conducted approximately 4,500 activities, which gets at the consultations I talked about earlier. 70 trainings to facility staff, 200 occasions of working with resident and family councils. We also must participate in the Department of Health facility surveys. So what does that mean? When a nursing home is surveyed, they must contact the Ombudsman's office to see what kind of complaint work we have had. So we work to be participating in those as much as possible. I think another important element to know about is that the Ombudsman program is part of the state's elder rights system envisioned in Title VII of the Older Americans Act, which means that the Ombudsman program and the State Unit on Aging, which is the Minnesota Board on Aging, we work together to develop the elder rights agenda each year with our stakeholders, with our partners. And I wanted to make sure that people also understand the reach that we have coordinating cross-training sessions with other agencies. Systemic issues, direct work with providers. So as your state ombudsman, I feel that it's very important that if we have a number of the facilities owned by one particular organization experiencing the same problems across all their facilities, that I invite those owners to meet with me. And the health department has joined me, where we meet face-to-face across the table and talk about the problems and give a chance for the provider to understand what we're seeing and how we can work together on a plan to eliminate and prevent these issues. So I've been fortunate that at least 2 major corporations in Minnesota they've agreed to meet with me to go through those issues and come up with a plan to eliminate and prevent those problems. And then lastly, again, I'm just going to focus on our volunteer program, which talks about, you see there, we currently have 35 and 2,572 hours have been generously donated. But I assure you that when we have extra staff, and I'm going to be optimistic that this session we will obtain more staff, we will recruit for more volunteers around the state. And I just really want to thank you again for your service and for allowing me time today on your agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Hennon. Representative Lippert, do you have another testifier? Is Chris? Oh, Representative Gruenhagen, do you have another question?
Oh, I just a comment, Madam Chair. You know, Representative Lippert, your last bill at a different committee I was a little contentious on, but I actually like this one. Okay?
Thank you,
great.
Representative.
Thanks for bringing it forward.
Any other questions for Ms. Hennon? Representative Cleaborn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And it's just a general knowledge question. As a new person to the legislature, I'm curious about long-term care facilities as a whole. Just at a 30,000-foot level, I don't want you to get into the weeds in this, but how many of our nursing homes are owned by corporations? How many are owned by family members? How many are community-owned? Do you have just a general distribution kind of thought?
So I know that there are very beautiful minds in this room that probably have a better answer than I would. And I can tell you that with the work that we have, Most of them are owned by major corporations and organizations. There are a few, and I apologize to those who may have the numbers, that are owned by private parties, by individuals. And remember, too, we have authority in the veterans' homes, and we have 5 state-run veterans' homes. But I would say that we have a significant majority that are part of major organizations.
And Representative Cleavorn, we will get you that
Yeah,
information.
it's just as she was speaking, it was just something that I was curious about. Thank
And
you.
when we hear another nursing home bill, we'll make sure that we bring that information forward for the public as well.
Thank you, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you. Any other questions for Ms. Hennon? No. Is Christine Sundberg here to testify? Hi, Ms. Sundberg. Please introduce yourself for the record and then proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm Chris Sundberg, and I'm president of Elder Voice Family Advocates, and we're primarily family members whose mother, father, or other loved one was seriously harmed in a senior living residence in the state. Elder Voice, AARP, and Legal Aid are here to support the additional funding for the Ombudsman Office. They are unique in being able to help our members, and many of our members have taken advantage of their services, and many others who also have taken advantage of their support and their guidance. This is really the only way that we can really, or one of the ways that we can assure our residents get quality, safe care. As I think most of you are probably aware, there were 4,000 complaints in 2010 to the Department of Health. That increased to 22,500 last year. So it's no surprise that we've seen the Ombudsman Office also experience a dramatic increase. They've stated that there was a 150% increase in abuse, neglect, and financial exploitations received from 2015 to 2018. It is very clear in the data that Cheryl just presented and in the graphic that we've included in your packets that they are grossly understaffed. As you can see, Cheryl had cited about 9,000 beds per ombudsman. Our graph only goes to 2016, so it's a little bit less, but it's been averaging between that 6,000 and 7,000 beds over the last few years. And that puts the ranking at 50 out of 52 states. This is nothing to be proud of. Now, even with this funding, it will start to close the gap, but that'll only close to getting us at 38 out of 52. Again, I think we can do better than that. Unrelated to the provisions of this bill, but I just want to make a point of it, is that we need to give the ombudsman clear enforcement tools, as well as the need to make sure that termination and appeal rights are strengthened and that there are effective protections against retaliation. As you heard Cheryl talk, there's a great deal of fear about retaliation in these facilities. Providing additional staff for the Ombudsman Office provides the oversight that we need to keep our elderly and vulnerable adults safer and with better care. We very much appreciate your support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sundberg. Are there questions? Representative Munson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is about the volunteers that your program uses. Do you know if other states leverage volunteers in their programs? And it's a few questions, actually. And then do your numbers here, what the staffing ratios reflect the volunteers? And can you just speak to the job duties of volunteers?
I think that question's better directed to Cheryl. We're just a volunteer organizations of families that have been impacted and been benefited by Cheryl.
Thank you, Ms. Sundberg. Ms. Hennon, could you introduce yourself again for the record and then proceed to answer the question, please?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm Cheryl Hennon, State Long-Term Care Ombudsman. So question, would you, Representative, mind just repeating those for me, please?
Representative Munson?
Madam Chair, members, questions on the volunteer program. The numbers in your data that show the staffing ratios.
Right.
I'm assuming that the volunteers are not included in those ratios, but do you know of other states that have volunteers? And can you speak to some of the duties that the volunteers do for the program?
Ms. Hennon?
Thank you, Chairman, Chairperson, and Representative Munson. So yes, other states do utilize volunteers. And they utilize them in the same way that Minnesota does, which is you have paid staff regional ombudsmen that provide the oversight. There are some states that have volunteers working. They may contract out. The state may contract out the ombudsman program, and so the person, the grantee, has volunteers working for them. So there are some states that have just a little bit of different structure than Minnesota does, but primarily the structure is around in many states the same way we have in Minnesota. And the responsibilities of the volunteers, to your other part of the question, includes first and foremost being a presence. And they are trained, the regional ombudsmen provide them with training that is specific to what their scope of authority is. The Older Americans Act is quite clear about who can actually conduct investigations versus who can come and assist. So some of our volunteers are trained to provide assistance in the complaint investigations. Volunteers have been part of the Minnesota Ombudsman program since the 80s. And in its inception, they provided a presence, which is telling people who we are and what we do. But as time has moved along, I have found that we needed to train them a little bit more to assist with the investigations. And they also do provide support to councils. So volunteers are doing those things.
Representative Munson?
And I have one more follow-up question. Are volunteers for this program allowed to be employees of long-term care facilities, or is that a conflict of interest? Or do you have any volunteers that are employees of facilities?
Ms. Hennon?
Thank you, Chairwoman. And Representative Munson, that is such a very, very good question, because within federal regulations, there is clear definition of conflict of interest. So if a person is to volunteer with our program and they are working at a nursing home, they would need to quit.
Okay.
So thank you. Very good question.
Representative Olson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And mine was more of just a comment that I think Ms. Sunderberg mentioned in her testimony, but also that this is a really great proposal and can go a long way to getting where we need to. And I'm glad to see this coming forward. And it seems that if we're going to do this, this is the time to be talking about the tools that
Right.
Are necessary to make sure that families are safe and able to, when your folks are doing their good work and they hit the roadblocks, that we need to make sure that, you know, the time to invest in the work you're doing also comes at a time when we need to be thinking about the tools around retaliation and expanded rights and all of that as well. So
Representative Olson, thank you so much for making that statement. And I also want the committee to know that we are working on performance measures so that at any time when we have more staff, I would be ready to explain how well we are doing and what those performance measures look like and how well we are meeting them. That's very important to me that we have those checks and balances in place as well.
Thank you. Representative Gruenhagen?
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. So which state is number one on this? You know right offhand,
Ms. Hennon?
as far as the ratio?
Ms. Hennon?
I do not.
Okay.
But I would certainly be able to get the committee that information.
Okay, any other questions? I think we have another testifier
Yes.
from Care Providers of Minnesota. And then on deck, we have Leading Age Minnesota, too. You want to come down? Sure, Carrie.
Madam Chair?
Representative Gruenhagen?
Oh, yeah, just one follow-up comment. You don't have to go back to testifying. When you look at that, has the additional staff reduced the number of complaints? You know what I mean?
I think Representative Gruenhagen, that's number of complaints has increased over time. So I
I know,
think their
but
workload
the
has
state
increased.
with the smallest ratio, has their number of complaints gone down? You know what I mean?
We'll look into that,
Yeah.
Representative Gruenhagen,
Yeah,
and
if
get you that
wanna check on that
information.
when you, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself and proceed.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Erin Bowie. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for Care Providers of Minnesota, here today as part of the Long-Term Care Imperative. I want to thank Representative Lippert for bringing this bill forward, and also the Ombudsman in her office for the work she and her staff do. 60,000 Minnesotans will turn 65 this year and next year and every year in the 2020s. Soon, we will have more seniors and school-aged children for the first time in Minnesota history. As our population ages, the care needs for Minnesota seniors will increase, and they will be turning in increasing numbers to our senior care communities. As you heard, Minnesota's funding for staffing the Office of the Long-Term Care Ombudsman lags behind the rest of the country. The Office of the Long-Term Care Ombudsman plays a valuable role in working with consumers and providers to reach productive resolutions to concerns and complaints. The role for this office is only going to increase in the coming years, and we support efforts to increase the staffing numbers in the office. It is important for consumers to have an independent advocate in our settings, and it is also frequently of assistance to providers when the long-term care ombudsman becomes involved in helping mediate disputes or resolve complaints. Again, I want to thank Representative Lippert for bringing this bill forward, and now I'll turn it over to my long-term care imperative colleague to say further nice things about the bill.
Please introduce yourself for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Carrie Thurlow. I'm the Senior Vice President of Advocacy for Leading Age Minnesota, also here on behalf of the Long-Term Care Imperative. So I want to echo everything that has been said about the importance of this bill. It is an important tool in the prevention of elder abuse and the protection of seniors, and the Ombudsman's Office provides important advocacy services on behalf of seniors throughout the state of Minnesota. I also want to acknowledge that the Office of Ombudsman are incredible partners to the long-term care provider community. As Ms. Hennon indicated, they are great partners in providing training to our facilities throughout the state, and we find that an important tool in the prevention of issues before they become really significant. As many of you know, the discussion about how we regulate long-term care settings and how we best protect elders and vulnerable adults throughout the state of Minnesota has been an important topic since last session. And I want to acknowledge that in the course of late last fall, as well as in the winter, the Minnesota Department of Health convened a series of stakeholder working groups on a number of topics so we could identify a variety of solutions to bring forward to this legislature. Ms. Hennon led one of those working groups on consumer rights. And one of the areas of strong consensus, I think it's fair to say, in the working groups is the call for additional funding for the Office of Ombudsman. I think that no matter whether there were providers or consumers at the table, this was one area that we all agreed upon as having an important tool. So I want to share that. We know that there will be other legislation also that this committee will look at in terms of looking at strengthening rights and addressing other tools. I know that that bill will make its way here, and want to acknowledge the work of Representative Schultz as well as Representative Olson on that. And we look forward to those continued conversations as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bowie and Thurlow. So are there any questions for these additional testifiers? No? I think Representative Lippert, do you have an oral amendment you'd like to move?
Yes.
And we can have our House Research explain that for you.
Yeah, so I move to amend this bill to include the costs listed in the fiscal note.
So, Ms. Punelli, do you want to explain the oral amendment to the members, please?
Madam Chair and members, in consulting with Mr. Berg on this, he gave me some numbers to include where these blanks are, but these numbers aren't going to include the federal financial participation, so they would have to be adjusted later.
Okay.
So,
Yes, Mr. Berg, can you explain that, please?
Madam Chair, if you want to know, we actually account for FFP separately on the spreadsheet in all areas at DHS by law. So on a fiscal note, it's offset against the costs. The numbers that Ms. Pinelli will put in are the gross costs. When we get this to actually an omnibus bill, we will separately account for the federal offset.
After 8 years, I understand that now.
So, Ms. Pinelli, do you want to explain what these numbers are for an oral amendment in this committee? Or the Representative Lippert, you could choose to do an amendment when we have different numbers in HHS Finance? What do you recommend, Mr. Berg?
Madam Chair, it's fine to put those numbers in. It's just when it shows up on the spreadsheet, there will be an offset to these numbers. The problem here is that actually all of these aren't two different budget activities. It all is going to get appropriated to the same budget activity. So it isn't possible to sort of allocate it separately now, the offset. It'll all be handled together ultimately. So you can put the numbers Ms. Pinelli has in there, it's fine.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Pinelli.
Madam Chair, members, so on page 1, line 7, the motion would be to delete the first blank and insert $2,151,000. And on the same line, delete the second blank and insert $3,577,000. And then on page 1, line 11, delete the first blank and insert $818,000 and delete the second blank and insert $978,000.
Okay, so do the members understand the oral amendment? Okay, any questions? So Representative Lippert has moved this oral amendment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the amendment is adopted. Okay. Thank you, Representative Lippert. Any closing remarks before we take a vote?
I think this is a clear need, and this bill provides a good step forward for us.
Okay, so the motion before us is to move House File 1560. Oh, sorry, Mr. Representative Gruenhagen.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. You know, the bill only funds staff for 2 years. Do we want to extend this funding so that we don't drop back to 50th in 2 years?
Mr. Berg?
Madam Chair, again, the convention we have on scoring the budget rules are that if there is an appropriation in the second year of a biennium, and also these are forecasted programs, it's considered an ongoing appropriation. If it doesn't say it's one time, it's automatically scored as ongoing.
Good question, Representative Gruenhagen. Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Berg. Okay, so Representative Lippert renews his motion to refer House File 1565 to Health and Human Services Finance. As amended, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion's approved.